Can you tell us whether this is sector dependent? And if so, have you identified which sectors? Like you mentioned, some people work outside where it's a lot hotter than it would be for a worker inside. So which sectors are truly in need of this heat risk action plan? And if you know, can you share with us if anybody already has one?
Yes, primary sectors identified with heat risks actually leading to occupational safety and health injury would be one, the construction sector, wherein you have construction workers directly working under the heat of the sun. And then, of course, those in the manufacturing and industrial setting, primarily the factory workers, especially those smaller factories wherein ventilation is really a very big problem. And when they deal with machines that emit very high heat air emissions. With regards to whether there be sectoral plans and that there be a heat risk action plan for each sector, we believe that the heat risk action plan, which I have just discussed, would just be the foundational. We believe that most, unfortunately, occupational safety and health committees do not still have a heat risk action plan. No less than the Department of Labor and Employment has only a labor advisory on this matter, which was issued, I think, a year or 2 years ago on this matter, especially just encouraging flexibility in uniform policy and providing free hydration. We want the Department of Labor and Employment to be more proactive. The TUCP has already recommended a heat risk action plan, and that's why we are calling on DOLE to now convene the National Tripartite Industrial Peace Council so that we can come up with a new department order on this heat risk action plan that all workplaces be required to have one.
Mm-hmm. Carlos, you earlier mentioned and you're pushing for this heat stress orientation sessions. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, the heat stress orientation sessions, actually orientation center sessions are not new. They are usually done by the HR departments of workplaces or of the OSH committee, safety officers. You have like fire, earthquake drills, and that is similar to that. But in this case, the one that we are trying to inform workers about is heat stress. Unfortunately, while the temperature and heat is just commonplace now, we read it every time in the news. Many workers are still do not know much about the symptoms of heat stress. Many workers just try to shrug it off as just feeling under the weather, but actually that could be heat stress already. The symptoms of it, which unfortunately could lead to as much as heat stroke, such as the Department of Health already receiving numerous reports of that happening. So the heat orientation session will discuss what is heat stress, and then afterwards, this is not a one-time thing. So every week afterwards, there could be training guides or there could be refresher courses, much shorter sessions, so that we can ensure that the heat stress and heat risk action plan will always be in the mindset of our workers.
Out of the 5 points that you laid out, 4 of them are easy enough to implement. That's the buddy system, free water, better ventilation, and heat stress orientation. The one that I think you might come up to opposition against would be number 1, which is a heat break between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Because if you implement that across the manufacturing sectors and the construction sectors, there could be a corresponding slowdown in overall GDP growth, right? Especially since, the economic managers are right now trying to hit 6.5% minimum growth for the Philippines at the moment. So how would you counter that if once you get to the table with the DOLE?
Yeah, so with the Department of Labor and Employment, who we trust will always protect workers, and especially the one that we are very much concerned, of course, is the employers, who will think that a heat break, such as 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., is really seen just in the cost perspective. We in the TUCP, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, kept on reminding our employers that a healthy and safe worker is a productive worker. Even if we force construction workers, factory workers, to work under the heat of the sun from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., they would be their productivity would be drastically declining, and that the propensity for accident, such as occupational safety and health injury, heat stroke, and heat stress, will also be rising. And if there is also an absence of safety devices, especially during those intense heat, then the employer could also be responsible for damages as per the Employers' Compensation Commission. So we believe that the heat break is a mutually beneficial solution for both employers and workers. Because again, a healthy and safe worker is a productive worker.
Right. Just a quick clarification, Carlo, on the heat break. So if you take out 11 to 2, that would be 3 hours minus 1 hour for lunch, which is normally break time anyway. So that's 2 hours off. Does your proposal include putting back those 2 hours maybe towards the end of the day, like later on, pag medyo mas hindi na mainit? Or it's foregone?
That is why we have been calling for the National Tripartite Industrial Peace Council to have a special meeting, so that is where employers, workers, and the government can discuss. We are exploring options there, such as having work starting earlier than 8 o'clock, so that a rest break can be accommodated, as well as trying to have work in the latter time of the workday. Let me also mention that this heat break is not entirely new. In other jurisdictions, such as in the Middle East, Qatar, and Singapore, there is really a heat work ban. They call it a heat work ban, wherein construction and manufacturing are forced to redesign their workday, such as, for example, removing those work needed to, such as, for example, in the project site itself, that the 11 to 2 p.m., they are not allowed in the project site. So what they will do is that the 11 to 2 p.m., they will spend time on assembling something that they will install in the project site itself. In that way, workers are protected, employers were able to redesign their workday, and that everybody, employers and workers, will be safe from the heat.